Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Look, if you're someone who loves efficient, highly focused learning, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to walk through a masterclass on building the ultimate modern toolkit for innovation. We're actually combining three distinct, totally fascinating pieces of research to build a bridge between human psychology, cutting-edge artificial intelligence, and real-world business strategy. It's going to be a fun one. Now, I want you to just imagine something for a second. What if your absolute best problem-solving tools weren't just the things you consciously try to do at your desk between 9 and 5? What if your biggest competitive edge was actually hidden in your sleep, an incredibly powerful AI notebook, and a very specific type of business mindset? Well, today we're going to look at exactly how to combine your subconscious mind, external AI software, and entrepreneurial execution to make you pretty much unstoppable. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break our explainer down into 4 parts. 1, the internal engine. 2, the external engine. 3, the application. And 4, synthesizing insight. All right, starting with part 1, the internal engine, and how we can harness your subconscious. Before we even touch software or business strategies, we really have to talk about the original biological information processing engine, your brain, and specifically what it's up to when you aren't even awake. To ground our discussion, we're looking at a brilliant 2024 academic paper from the Vantage Journal of Thematic Analysis titled From Insight to Action: How Dreams Foster Self-Reliance. This research basically flips how we view sleep. Dreams aren't just these random mystical occurrences, right? They are proven psychological tools that we can actively use for emotional healing, problem solving, and cultivating profound self-reliance. This paper really builds on the foundational work of early psychologists, which is perfectly summed up by this quote: "Dreams are the guiding words of the soul," by Carl Jung. Both Jung and Sigmund Freud really paved the way for modern psychology by realizing that dreams were essentially pathways. They saw the dream state as a critical tool for unearthing hidden aspects of ourselves and integrating them to achieve holistic self-awareness. Now, what's really interesting here is how our understanding has evolved. Historically, we leaned pretty heavily on Freud's wish fulfillment theory, the idea that dreams are where we safely explore repressed desires and inner conflicts through metaphor. But contrast that with modern neuroscience, which proposes the threat simulation theory. This modern perspective argues that during REM sleep, your brain acts like a high-tech flight simulator. It actively rehearses responses to real-life dangers and stressors, allowing you to develop psychological resilience in a completely safe, controlled environment. It's literally practicing for real life while you rest. And this brings us to something super actionable: lucid dreaming. This is when you actually gain conscious awareness and control while you're still dreaming. The research outlines massive, real-world benefits to this. Think of it as a risk-free, virtual reality environment for personal growth. You can confront your fears safely, almost like DIY exposure therapy, but the utility goes even further than that. Athletes and musicians actively use it to acquire and refine skills, actually enhancing their muscle memory while they sleep. No way, right? The paper notes you can practice this using methods like the MILD technique, which involves setting a very strong intention to recognize the dream state right before you drift off. But hey, even if you aren't naturally a lucid dreamer, you can still use something called dream incubation. If you're facing a massive mental block or a super complex problem in your waking life, you can actively prime your mind to generate nocturnal solutions. It's a concrete 3-step system. First, clarify the exact problem. Second, create a mental image or a simple affirmation related to it. And third, maintain a relaxed, receptive mindset right before sleep. It directs your subconscious to work on the issue overnight, giving you an entirely new internal resource for innovation. Moving on to part 2, the external engine, where we master AI with NotebookLM. So your internal engine is revved up and ready. But what about all that external data we're drowning in every day? Well, to synthesize all of that, we use Google's NotebookLM, which relies on a mechanism called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. Let me break this down simply. It's an AI mechanism that finds relevant chunks of text from sources that you specifically upload first, and then it generates answers strictly grounded in those chunks, complete with citations. It is exactly like having a brilliant, tireless research assistant locked in a room who is only allowed to speak using the specific documents you slide under the door. And that constraint is exactly what makes this a superpower. Think about your standard AI chatbots. They've been trained on the whole internet, so they know a little bit about everything, but they might hallucinate facts because they aren't grounded in your specific reality. NotebookLM, on the other hand, knows only what you give it. Because it is deeply grounded with exact citations from your PDFs, your YouTube transcripts, and your documents, you aren't just blindly trusting the AI. You're building real, verifiable understanding. Constraint becomes your absolute superpower here. Where the absolute magic happens is in this studio output. You hand NotebookLM your source material, and it instantly transforms it into a massive multimedia study system. Say you need to study on your commute? Boom, it generates an audio overview. Need visual concept mapping? It builds a mind map. It can write beautifully structured briefing documents, create flashcards and adaptive quizzes for spaced repetition, or even generate a quick reference slide deck. You are literally turning one complex document into an entire arsenal of learning tools in a matter of seconds. And this brilliantly illustrates just how versatile the tool is. I mean, we're talking massive high-leverage use cases here. You can turn a single YouTube lecture into a full semester's study system. You can accelerate your reading of dense technical docs, or prep for grueling system design interviews by combining mock interview transcripts and technical guides. If you're a manager, you can synthesize a whole year's worth of internal memos and transcripts to achieve total decision clarity right before a massive project kicks off. Before we wrap up this section, I've got to share an incredible pro tip straight from our source material. If you really want to maximize your learning, pair a dense, highly rigorous academic paper with a simple explainer blog or YouTube video inside a single notebook. The paper tells you the technical what and how, while the explainer gives you the intuition of why it matters. NotebookLM synthesizes both perspectives seamlessly. It is truly the ultimate hack for grasping difficult subjects. All right, let's jump into part 3, the application, and specifically the technopreneurial growth mindset. Okay, so we've got our subconscious mind churning out nocturnal insights and our AI engine doing the heavy synthesis lifting during the day. But honestly, all of that means zero without real-world execution. To understand how to actually apply this, we're drawing on a highly revealing 2023 study published in Journal Economy. This research looks specifically at micro, small, and medium enterprises, or SMEs, in Indonesia, which is an incredibly dynamic digital economy. The researchers wanted to know what actually drives business performance in the modern era. They zoomed right in on the entrepreneurial growth mindset, that psychological tendency to accept challenges, view failure as a learning opportunity, and commit to continuous growth. Because everyone tells you that you just need a growth mindset to succeed, right? Well, the study found a highly surprising result. Having an entrepreneurial growth mindset entirely on its own did not have a significant direct impact on entrepreneurial performance, meaning things like sales growth, market expansion, and customer loyalty. Mindset alone simply wasn't enough. So the crucial point here is that something has to bridge that gap. And according to the research, that bridge is what they call technopreneurial competencies. These are the crucial middleman skills that seamlessly combine technology and entrepreneurship. You can have all the motivation and growth mindset in the world, but if you don't possess the concrete technical competencies to execute your ideas in a digital landscape, that positive mindset simply won't translate into tangible financial success. The researchers laid out exactly what these core competencies are. They act as this catalyst. It includes having risk-taking ability and self-efficacy. It requires strategic networking and highly effective communication. But critically, it requires technical ICT skills, information and communication technology mastery, alongside specific industry knowledge. These are the compounding, practical skills that allow a modern entrepreneur to actually leverage digital tools. I mean, being able to master a tool like NotebookLM is exactly the kind of ICT skill that lets you increase efficiency and compete in a crowded global market. To boil down this incredible finding, a growth mindset is the fuel, sure, but it literally has to be mediated by these concrete technopreneurial competencies, that's your engine, to actually drive real-world impact and business performance. If you want to grow your business, you can't just work on your attitude. You absolutely must actively upgrade your technical capabilities and your mastery of modern tools. Finally, let's move to part 4, synthesizing insight into action. So how does all of this come together into one unified system? Let's call it the modern innovator's flow. Step 1 is the mind. When you hit a wall, you don't just stress about it, you actively incubate those complex problems overnight using proven dream techniques to tap into your subconscious. Step 2 is the machine. When you're awake, you don't just passively read, you synthesize deep research actively and rapidly using NotebookLM's grounded AI outputs. And finally, step 3 is the mindset. You take those brilliant internal and external insights and you execute them in the market using your technopreneurial competencies. I want to leave you with one final provocative question to chew on today. The tools are all here. They're inside your own brain, they're available on your browser, and they're ready to be built into your business. So how will you integrate your nocturnal insights with your waking technological tools to build your own entrepreneurial success? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you leave today feeling incredibly empowered to build your ultimate toolkit. Catch you next time.